When you read David Allen's book, Getting Things Done, you'll see that among the most important lists you can create is something called Someday Maybe. It can be a future project list, things that you may want to pursue in the future, but aren't really important to you right now. You might want to learn how to fly a plane, not today, but someday. You might want to visit a different country, not today, but someday. Hi, I'm Dave Edwards. But what happens when the someday maybe list gets really big? That's our subject today. There was a GTD Connect seminar that I participated in where the speaker defined the someday maybe list as it gives you permission to write down anything you can think of without any kind of restrictions. Now, at the beginning of a new year, as part of my annual review of my systems, I discovered that my someday maybe list was getting way too long. And yet I felt guilty about deleting some of the items. I mean, at one point, these items were really important to me. But now the current me looks back at the list and can't imagine that I ever took some of them seriously, or quite frankly, that I'd ever get around to doing some of them. Maybe in the future, but maybe not. I asked David Allen, the author of Getting Things Done, for some advice. He said, my conundrum actually makes sense.
Because sometimes you give yourself permission, like you probably did at end of year, to kind of lift your horizon up a little bit, right? And see a longer look. And given the longer look, some of that stuff going, well, it was important. No, not so. Let me move it to someday, maybe, or just dump it. Yeah. I do that. I've taken my someday maybe list, I don't know how many times in the last 20 or 30 years. And sometimes I just dump it all and just create a new one. Those have been on there for too long. I don't think I'm ever gonna do that, and dump. And that's fine. I think that's just a healthy process. I think it's ongoing. So good for you.
Yeah, I actually ran into that problem with my someday maybe list because that was clearly becoming the catch-all. And I think the last time you and I talked, I alluded to this because I kept looking at that someday maybe list as just being ridiculous. And then I decided that maybe I needed to break them into two, like a someday list and a maybe list. And it would be kind of like, rating them that way.
Sure. Well, there's kind of the bucket list, and then there's the short-term parking lot.
Yeah.
So you can have lots of versions of someday maybe. I mean, in a sense, in Everett, all those, movies I might want to see, food I might want to cook, wine I might want to try. All those are kind of versions of someday maybe.
Right.
There's no commitment to do anything about them. It's just kind of a combination of reference and someday maybe. I have a list of all the fun comedies, rom-coms that Catherine and I like to look at, from time to time. Mm-hmm. So, that's a kind of a someday maybe. But I probably had, 35 versions of someday maybe, given those different kind of lists that I just, manage or maintain.
I feel better. So I've decided that going forward, I'm not just going to put items in my someday maybe list, but as part of my weekly review, I'm going to scan that list and maybe put one of those items on the active list, my to-do list, and decide if any of them should be eliminated. The rest of them, I'll leave tucked in the list for later review. My periodic conversations with David Allen really help me and hopefully help you. Consider subscribing to the series and hitting the like button below. Oh, and if you have any thoughts about maintaining your someday maybe list, leave a comment below. I'm Dave Edwards. Stay productive.